Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Round Robin. With me today is Christine Mulligan, Nina Mulligan, and my husband Todd Preston. And we are missing Regina Lindsay, but she is on a well-deserved PTO week. So cheers to you, girl, and joy.
Hey, everybody. Hey.
Hello.
All right, so today's Round Robin, we are going to be talking about Brent Koster. So just super quick recap. He was a 15-year-old boy who committed 3 rapes and 3 murders, received second-degree murder because he testified against his co-defendant, against Danny Rains. So Danny Rains got life. He ended up dying in prison at the age of 79 or 80. Brent Koster was released and on parole in 2021, and he is still on parole. And the reason why we talked about Brent Koster was we had a listener who contacted me while I was traveling. It was big news on Facebook. This guy is a convicted murderer. He's out on parole, and he's running a transportation business. So it was big news. It was crazy here. Christine and I were both like, oh my gosh, yay for the Michiganders, for everybody rallying as a community to stop what's going on here, because he did kill these girls in vehicles. So it's an extra big deal beside him being a rapist and a murderer. Now, the other thing I want to point out about Brent Koster, which we didn't really touch upon in our episode about him, is that because he turned, evidence in and he testified on Danny Rains, he never had to register as a sexual offender because of that.
That's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
How is that a thing in a bargaining plea? Like, what?
I know.
I mean, what about all the people that legitimately weren't somebody that we should all be aware of? Like, there's always the 19-year-old that was dating the 17-year-old and the mom didn't like him. Do you know what I mean? There's always those one-offs, right?
Yes.
So even they can't plea out of that. They're stuck with that for the rest of their life. How the hell does this guy get away with that?
I don't know. I do not know. I mean, maybe, I don't know. He must have had a damn good attorney.
Bonkers to me.
Well, maybe that was part of his plea deal as his testimony against the other guys that ended up in prison for life.
Yeah,
so
obviously that part of his plea, obviously.
Well, but I guess maybe they felt like maybe he would never get parole.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on, Nina, because a lot of times they have to make these deals in order to get a bigger deal, and it's a huge sacrifice, but in order to get the other things that they need, they work these deals, and it's unfortunate, I think, that it has to happen that way sometimes, but it's still nuts that it was even on the table.
I think they just want to let the public know that they've sealed the deal. All the ugly truth is out there, but we're not going to get all the ugly truth unless one of you sings. So if it was Danny who's saying against Brett, well, he really couldn't, though, could he? Because they both raped them, but it was really Brent Koster that murdered them at Danny Rains'
tutelage.
Yeah. No, you're going to do it. And he watched the girl in the van. He sat there and watched the rape. He sat there and watched the murder. Because at this point, she was number 3. He learned how to do it after the first girl because he kind of failed, choking her with the rope.
Mm-hmm.
Danny came along. He's like, no, that's not how you do it. I'm going to show you how hard this has to be done. Because really, basically, that's what it is. They're playing freaking tug of war.
Yeah.
So by girl number 2 and 3, like he was like, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the point being is that he did the crimes too, and okay.
He absolutely did.
He did his time, supposedly. He got paroled, right? So that means he did his time. He did the crime. So yes, he should be able to go work and do something. However, it shouldn't be driving women around.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what he went to jail for. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that to me is just bonkers. And the fact that he's not a sexual... what is it?
He's not registered as a sex offender.
Then that means that nobody's aware of that. And maybe if he was a sexual offender, that would have precluded him from being in the vehicle with unidentified other human beings.
Right.
Right. And I just wanted to say that I think that's just totally nuts that he should not be allowed to work with a one-on-one type situation with the general public. You know, I'm not opposed to him being employed, but you're vulnerable. If you're in a vehicle alone with this guy, and he's already proved that he hurts people and is okay with it.
Not only that, but here's the thing. He started up a car service, and he's not, it's like, you know what? Guess what, hon? I need to make some extra money. I'm going to go get some business cards made up, and I'm going to just start dishing those cards out. There are no rules and regulations. He's not registering with anybody. He's flying under the radar.
Wait,
right?
How is that possible? Michigan doesn't have, like, cabbie rules or anything? Like,
no, they do. They
delivery?
do. That's right. That's what I'm saying. He wasn't registered with any cab company. He wasn't driving for Uber. He wasn't driving for Lyft.
You just have to have a chauffeur's license.
Right. That's all he did is so he got the license. They don't know what that means. A chauffeur's license could mean you're driving a party bus or a limousine, right? Where there's lots of people. I don't know. They clearly couldn't have done a goddamn criminal check on this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's number one. But that's number one. Okay, that's staying in because that's too good.
Yep.
Okay. 1, he has a chauffeur's license. 2, he is not complying with he's not registering with the state.
And
right?
C.
And Home Alone. What was the brother's name? You know what I'm talking about. The big pudgy kid with the red hair.
Yeah.
1.
Biff.
Was his name Biff?
Was it Biff?
I thought it was Ches or Chaz.
Chaz. I think it's Chaz, right? A, and then 2. I just chazzed it, but he's
chazzed all over it.
Oh, hun. But Uber, if you drive for Uber or if you drive for Lyft, you have to give them your driver's license. They have to do probably a background check.
You would think.
You have to be, your car has to be registered, your license plate, your insurance. You have to drive at least, they give you a cutoff date for the year.
You got to have a clear driving
You can't be
record.
driving a 1979 El Camino.
And isn't it a flag? You haven't actually drove in like 30 some years, so.
Yeah. DMV, check that shit. He hasn't driven in 50 years. Why?
That's why he's got a clean driving record. No speeding tickets or nothing.
Right.
They're like, oh my God, you have an A1 driving record.
It's impeccable.
Yes, here's your chauffeur's license. Okay, so in preparation for the show, I found an article from the Detroit Free Press by Paul Egan, and this was written in March 20th of 2024. The article is titled, Michigan Man Who Confessed to Murders, Rapes, Caught Operating Rideshare Service on Parole. The Michigan Department of Corrections says it has put a stop to an unregulated rideshare service offered by a confessed serial killer and rapist out on parole. Brent Koster, 67, who was paroled in 2021 after confessing to killing 3 women in the 1970s, including one he picked up while she was hitchhiking, has been distributing business cards with his telephone number and photo, offering, quote, impromptu rides. Michigan Department of Corrections spokesman Kyle Kaminsky confirmed that on Tuesday. His business card read cash up front or wheels don't roll, which appears to offer a rideshare or taxi-like service without the scrutiny and regulation that taxi drivers or drivers for services like Uber and Lyft receive. Photos of Koster's business card and information about his posts were shared on social media in the last several days provoking outrage. And that's exactly what I saw on Facebook. So when they contacted Koster, apparently via text, his comment was, quote, no comment. Then it goes on to say, Koster was 15 and Danny was 28 when they raped and killed, and went through all that. All right, so Kaminsky said Koster's Calhoun County parole agent put a stop to the rideshare service when he learned about it earlier this week. There will also be a special condition added to Koster's parole, barring such activity, Kaminsky stated. Quote, he is not approved to perform this type of work. His parole agent met directly with Koster after becoming aware to make clear that he cannot provide rides or engage in similar work with the public. Koster will continue to be closely monitored by his agent through his parole discharge in January of 2025. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was 2023. I think they extended it. I don't remember because it was 3 years parole. He was out in 21, 22,
Right.
23.
That's
It should have been done in 23.
Wow,
I think he got
they-
some added time here, guys.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good news because it sounds like they put a stop on this, which is a good thing. And he was overstepping his bounds as.
I agree with all of that, right? And you already know that I think it was bonkers that someone with that kind of history was doing it. But then I also want everybody to think about for a second the fact that he was 15 and 16. Was it 15 or 16, Jace?
He was 15. He was sentenced when he was 16.
He was sentenced when he was 16. So he's been in prison all this time. One of the things that definitely happens with incarcerated individuals is whatever time frame and time of life they're in when they get incarcerated, they kind of stay there mentally. As crazy as that sounds, they lack some social cues in a lot of areas. So even though this man is in his 60s now, he still doesn't understand or realize, even though he's been out for a year or two, right? Because he got out in 21, you said?
Yeah, he's been out 3 years.
Okay, so he's been out 3 years. That's still not a long enough time for him to really grasp how different the world is.
He grew up with hoodlums. Like, he grew up with dangerous people. So his entire view of the world is from criminals.
Well, and he had a schizophrenic mother, so like we talked about in the show, he had a mom and dad at home, but remember he was like out of school, it was summer, and he didn't want to be home. He was staying here, he was staying there, he was bouncing all over the place, right? Those are his words. I bounced from here, I bounced from there, I stayed here. It doesn't sound like anything was nefarious until he bounced into Danny Raines. Maybe he was staying with younger kids, and all of a sudden he's staying with this dude who's bad. He's so into bad right now because he's already raped, had already murdered someone at that point.
This guy's, even as a kid, his mind was very malleable and susceptible to the flow of things.
As they all are, but this is the part I struggle with, that if this guy doesn't have some touch of mental illness, I don't know what does, because if I'm a 15-year-old dude and I'm hanging out with my guy friends and all they're talking about, yeah, sex is interesting, but you're not talking about sex. You're not talking about someone giving themselves to you. It's between, yep, I agree, let's do this, I'm into it. This is, no, we're going to abduct a girl when the time is right. We're going to rape her, and then we're going to fucking kill her. That's the plan. Like, if I'm sitting there thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, sex sounds great, but none of the rest of that does, and I gotta bounce. Why didn't he bounce?
Well, and when we did our skit, pretty much, we read the court transcripts of what happened, during his parole hearing. Here he is. He spent all this time in prison for these crimes, and remember, he kept saying, explaining what he was doing. Then to him, he was saying, well, what were you doing? I was having sex. No, he had to be reminded it's not sex, it's rape. Even after all this time, he has not come to terms with the fact that that
50
was a crime.
years in prison.
Sex is something, it's like George Michael says, it's best when it's one-on-one, but it's got to be consensual. Consensual.
He's even dancing. Well, in
Right.
his chair.
Right. Well, that's what I'm kind of trying to get to is this is what he knows. That's all he knows. He doesn't know any better. Like, I hate to give him a carte blanche pass, but he doesn't know any better.
He gets a D plus.
He doesn't even know how to function as an adult because he's been in prison since he was a kid. So even just the small nuances of paying your taxes, getting a job, and holding down rent and all those things are completely foreign to him. But then he learned how to live in the world through a bunch of white guys who are street smart. So what do you do with that when you get out? But then didn't he do all the legal work too?
So correct. So
Yeah.
he
So
spent.
he wasn't a dummy. Why isn't he working as a lawyer? Dang it! What
Well,
the heck?
well, I'm going to tell you why. Is one of the things I was thinking about the other day. I was chopping bushes, chopping. I'm like, I'm getting outside. Damn it! I'm chopping bushes, and so I'm listening to podcasting. Because I can't get enough. So it was I believe it was a Dateline episode where they were talking about women in prison. And it's like, there's a ton of women in prison. They're talking about who's getting released, this and that. So this one woman who got released, she had some mental issues. She was on medication when she was in prison. They let her out with no medication. Let's start with that. So by the time she finally got some, because she had to steal it to get it, was like 60 days. 60 days. I don't think there's really good programs out there because if you're like, okay, this guy did these unbelievably horrific crimes to these 3 young women, bar none, he absolutely did. He was 15. He's been in prison his entire life. It would look better for him if he did more of the programs that were there, but everybody testified for him. He's great. He's this. He's smart. He's that. He has these strengths. Like, why? That's where I think that we fail, not only him, but a lot of people. Like, maybe he had to turn to this because he can't get a job. You have to come up with paying your bills, son. So I'm not giving him a pass. He's trying to live, and all he can do is hustle. I get that. But the part is that
it was too close to returning to the scene of the crime. That's the only problem with that.
Right. Well, and he couldn't. And here's the other thing, guys. There's no way that he could even try to legally do that as a job. Because they're like, oh, hell no, because they're doing background checks. Nope. You're a convicted murderer, rapist? Nope.
Yeah, well, this is a good time to do a PSA for the general public to not just jump in the car with anybody that you've given a book to.
And there are people out there that use that as a means of murdering now. Like, as the years come, we'll have, like, the Uber rideshare murders.
Girl, we already do.
I just came up with a great idea. It's going to get marketed now. Listen, every taxi service vehicle should be equipped with a panic button. As soon as it's pressed,
Goes right to the police
goes
station.
right to the police station with the location.
But how many people are going to push that goddamn button if it's not an emergency?
Right, because I kind of want to push it right now.
See?
See?
Don't push it. Don't push it. You're going to push it.
You see a button, you just kind of want to, what's this?
Don't touch that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah?
All right, so maybe it's not a great idea. But you see what I'm thinking of, though. Something like that.
Yeah, people have that. It's called a cell phone.
But what if they can't get to the cell phone? What if it gets slapped out of your hand?
Yeah.
Well, then you're a dumbass.
If you don't kung fu that bitch right in the nostrils, it's on you.
Yep. Guess what? You know what? If you don't know kung fu, don't take an Uber ride.
How about you QR code that fucking car so before I get in?
Hey, you can't be cursing.
What'd I say? Yes, I can, because this show is explicit.
What did you curse?
Dude, it's in my show notes. This is an explicit show. Am I rambling off the fucks?
No, it just caught me off guard. That was just a lot of fucks.
How many fucks did I give?
Oh, she was getting worked up.
But I say none. I'll tell you.
I think that should be a t-shirt. How many fucks did I give?
And why did I
Do I
give
have
so
any more
many?
left? Do I have any more
Your
left?
wine purse full of fucks just got a little lighter.
I need to go earn some more fucks.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say something about this particular episode because we did do like a radio play of it.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was super fun, and this episode was actually the birth of the round robin idea, and why we have the show right now. Because after that last episode, we talked about it a little bit. And some of the things we're hitting on again, but having the extra time to think about it and reflect on it, we can pick up some new things here and there too. But it's kind of cool. This is how round robin started. This is where we were
born, and Christine coined it, unbeknownst to her. Because Todd and I were sitting around, we're like, "Hey, that was kind of cool." We all just yacked it up a bit, and you were like, "Well, treats, we're kind of in a round robin."
Dad, that's the state bird.
It is the state bird.
It is the state bird.
That's a cool thing.
Guess you what? They're cool.
Yeah, man.
We have a ton of them around here.
Yep.
I am properly guessed. Thank you. Guess you what? Guess you what? I am properly guessed.
I know. I did a little reversal with those words there.
It's cute.
What else do we have about Brent? So they yanked his license, which is super cool. I think the public is absolutely responsible for that. It's all the people saying nope, 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 and nope on Facebook, spreading the word, and that's what they were saying. Spread the word. Don't take. And they were posting pictures of his business card.
Yeah.
Right.
And not to mention, he's located in Kalamazoo. Christine, I know you like that name, Kalamazoo.
I do.
But it's a very highly populated town. I mean, it's a college town, so there's a lot of drunk university girls that need a ride. What a horrible thing,
gosh.
you know?
Oh my gosh.
He wasn't savvy enough to have an app for that. Because if he had an app for that, he might have gotten more customers if it was a college town. But since he didn't have an app for that, he didn't get very successful before. We had to shut him down because that's way too close to the scene of the crime, my dude. Way too close.
You know what? I would love to know how many rides he actually gave. I would really love to know that.
Taken.
And really, where was he putting those business cards? Because I'm telling you right now, if I looked at that business card and I read cash up front or wheels don't roll and looked at his mug, nope.
It's going to be fine.
Anyone
it's
with
fine.
half a brain.
It's going to be fine.
Where's he leaving him at? In some seedy bar?
You have to have half a brain to believe anybody's walking around with that much cash on them anyway these days.
Nobody carries cash.
Nobody. I mean, she makes me carry cash sometimes, and it makes me feel like an old lady. She's like, here, put this in your pocket.
You need cash for tips at all times.
I'm sorry.
She's right, and I'm bad at that. You're right, Christine.
Tipping for funsies, okay? Until I met her, it was strictly a 10%, 20%.
10%.
I made sure I had to get some shit for free first. You know?
You gotta.
I'm taking one of these mints.
I'm not saying that.
I'm taking two.
I'm just used to just writing that on the bill, not necessarily having cash to hand somebody.
All right, well, now that you called me out there like that in public, I am an excessive tipper. But that's because I started life out as somebody that lives off of tips. Like, I was a hairdresser, I was a bartender. You know, you live off of tips.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now that I'm older and I have a career, you know, from many years of college, which was so much work. On the other side, and my kids are grown. I'm an empty nester, so I give back.
Agreed.
I'm wrong for tipping too much. I am just simply stating that
you were cracking on me.
I don't carry cash out for that reason. I just write it in on the slip. I don't tip in cash. I don't carry cash. You have to.
Public announcement. Don't tip on a credit card if you can help it. Just don't do it, because then the person that you want the tip to go to is not really ever going to get that tip. They're going to get a fraction of that.
They're going to get 13% of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tipping cash. Carry a little bit of cash for tips.
You got to carry it in your coin purse in your pocketbook. I said, what? I said, what is that? She goes, give me my pocketbook. I'm like, your what?
Yeah,
Your pocketbook?
Yeah, my mom used to say that too. That's her wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old is your mom?
80.
Exactly.
80 this April.
Yeah. Okay. I don't ask to my or am I just stating facts? It's endearing. I love it.
It is sweet. And do
I
you
love
have
her.
do you have a changed purse where, now this is gonna really make you old. Is it where it has the two silver balls and you push them opposite directions and it opens? Because then you're old.
Yep.
I've got it upgraded to a zipper, but I did used to have a Hello Kitty one like that.
Yeah, but see, you're the one with the coin purse. I don't have a coin purse.
You know
I don't
what?
even carry a pocketbook. I carry my phone, and it's got a little wallet thingy on the back of my phone.
And then she
That's
makes me
it.
carry all of her stuff in my pocketbook. So she does
Exactly.
have a pocketbook.
What do I have a
It's
wife
a
for?
human pocketbook.
Now to mention it, I don't think my mom called it a pocketbook. She called it a billfold.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Yep.
Well, I always thought that meant checkbook.
Yeah, me too.
We should have a poll. How do we start a poll?
I call
I'm
it my
not from
card
Michigan, I'm from
satchel
New York.
now.
I bet you even within my age, in their late 40s, women in their late 40s from New York, they would call it a pocketbook. I would bet dollars to donuts, 90% of them.
Agreed, because I know a lot of New York women who've always called it that. New Yorkers.
Yeah.
And my mom, but she's from
Look
Michigan,
out.
so I don't know. I don't know why. She just always called it her pocketbook.
And what do you call it?
My wallet.
Your purse, you call a wallet?
No.
No, that's my bag, but inside I have a wallet that has checks. It has
Yeah.
change area, credit card area, money
And when your
area.
wallet goes in your pocketbook.
Yep.
Okay, no,
That's a purse.
that's a bag.
Yeah, people from New York don't use bags from the grocery store.
Is that okay?
Oh, damn. You say I'm mean.
I know, she's harsh. She's, you know what she is? She's real. She's
I think
New
of a
Yorker.
plastic bag.
You think of a plastic bag when I say bag?
Yeah, if you said, "Give me my bag over there," I would be looking for a plastic bag or like one of those canvas satchels.
But if I say pocketbook, you know damn straight what I'm
Like,
looking for.
You're talking about.
Okay.
Anyway, so let's get back to the fact that when they get incarcerated, they're like stuck at that age. We went on to say how he was doing all that legal stuff, which I almost forgot that he had all that time to prep for his own parole hearing, which was really interesting. So to your point of whether or not he had some kind of brain damage or brain disorder.
Like a mental
Maybe.
health issue, because his mom was a schizophrenic, for crying out loud.
Yeah, so you thought he had a mental health issue, but he was able to learn all of that legalese, which I tell you what, is not always easy.
No,
and
it's
be
not.
able to figure out how to be useful and helpful to the lawyers. So he was obviously intelligent enough to be educated to a level. But that's the thing, is it was only about legal stuff. It wasn't about how do you pay your bills, how do you know how to turn electricity on, how do you know where the water comes from, you know what I mean, if you have a leak. How do you know how to navigate the streets now, because they're a lot different than they were 50 years ago. You know, stoplights weren't as big and intricate as they are now. Don't walk signs weren't around. Cell phones weren't around. Computers weren't around.
The whole world is different.
Exactly. Everything functions completely different.
Right. I agree with you, Christine.
So I don't think he was unintelligent, because he obviously was enough to be a legal aid and then to figure out how to get himself out on parole, because I'm still on that train.
Right. Well, and they all said he was the best paralegal they ever worked with. He's highly intelligent. I mean, the other woman who called in, and I can't remember if it was Nina's character or Regina's character. I think it was Regina's character that said he was the best damn paralegal they ever had. Oh, it was the computers. That's what it was. He learned about computers without having a computer. And again, it's like all drive but who knows? I mean, if he is touched by some form of schizophrenia, who knows? It's never come out. But schizophrenics are highly intelligent people.
True.
You know what I mean? So who's to say he doesn't have some form? Maybe he's taking medication. Maybe he's not a schizophrenia at all, which would be great. But still, mental illness, if that's what you're growing up, that's what you're watching as a child, right? We talked about that before. Babies just watch you. That's how they become them at their core. And then there's things they can do, modifiers later on in life, if they can.
Right. Well, that's another good point for him as well, is the people that he grew up around and what he had to watch and emulate up until probably the legal team that gave him a shot for whatever reason they did. And he showed promise for that. But everything else, everything else in life, like we all have our jobs and we all do what we do at work. But then in life, everything else that you do in life, think about that. Think about the fact, what if you didn't know about any of that? That would be kind of hard.
Here's my other thought about it. People who are long-standing attorneys, and these weren't just attorneys, like they were from, one of them was from the Supreme Court that worked in there. You know what I'm saying? You worked with him for 20 years. He was the best paralegal you ever had. You can't tell me that you can't reach out to some contact and help these people? Because maybe he would never do something like the ride share. Maybe there was just nothing he could do, or maybe there was nothing he wanted to do. I don't know.
Well, he did like to drive. That was one of the reasons why he wanted to do that job, because he liked to drive. And, free living and whatnot.
And I feel bad for him because he did do his time. You know what I mean? 50 years. Could you imagine? I'm 53 years old right now. All but 3 of my years would have been spent in prison. That's a lifetime. We have a lot of people we grew up with that have died already.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Again, I'm going to go back to that Women in Prison show. Like, they get out and it's like, okay, there are programs supposedly out there, but where are they? Because she didn't have one. She was struggling left, right, and center. No meds, didn't really have a place to stay, couldn't find a job, couldn't do this. So what does she do? She reoffends.
Unfortunately, we talk about this all the time. All of our systems are a little bit broken because, in theory, if they're applied correctly and adequately and equitably, then they would work. But unfortunately, we live in a capitalist society where equity is not really a thing.
And profitability is everything, and most of the prisons in the United States currently are privatized. It is the fastest growing privatized business, I believe, in America. Last time I checked. So.
Right, and change has to happen. There's so many things that we have to fix. I don't know exactly how parole works, but I'm sure you have to check in. I'm sure you have to take a urine test. Where was his parole agent? How did this even happen? Because it never came to their attention that he had a chauffeur's license. That means you're not checking in, or I don't know, until it was blowing up on Facebook.
The thing is that in order for you to really validate whether or not somebody's trying to help him, like his parole officer is probably trying to help him, and if there were availability for all of what you just talked about, then I'm sure he would get it. But the thing is his parole officer is trying to help him do the same thing that 50 other people that have never been to prison are trying to do.
Your job is to integrate them into society. You can't just throw these fucking people out on the street. Nothing is the same. Could you imagine 50 years ago coming out now, 50 years in the future? What?
So, in theory, all of the systems are pretty good ideas. The problem is, at macro levels, at the same time as all the other systems, it's not just helping the parolee get back on his feet. It's helping the 40-year-old woman that just lost her husband and her house burnt down, and now she never had a job before in her life, and now she's got to go to work and make a living, kind of all on top of each other right now because there's no equity.
They're competing programs.
Yeah.
There's only so much in the pot. Change has to come because this is bananas.
Yeah.
And it can.
It can. And you know what? Forgive me for saying this, but I know somebody's out there. We're not going to go into all that, but somebody out there really wants to bring everything back down to micro systems. If we did bring it down to micro systems, maybe it would be about being the village. The dangerous slippery slope in that is every village would fight with the next village, would fight with the next village, and then we still don't have the availability because everybody would still be in competition because it's all about getting more and forgetting about all those that have less.
Well, it's just going to take something absolutely devastating for all that to happen. That's how I feel.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much how we operate here in America. I feel like we are never... we are never proactive. I feel like we are constantly being reactive. Just like an example, 500 people have to die at an intersection before they'll put a light at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a statistic somewhere that says 500 human lives have to leave this earth before we'll spend $500,000 to put a light here.
I know.
I mean,
That's
think
crazy.
about that. Is insane.
But the thing is being too proactive on anything, it's all about balance is what I'm trying to get at. But the point is when we're too proactive on anything, then you have the other side that's proactive for their thing. Eventually you have a clash. Eventually you have a division. And that's what happens when everybody gets too proactive for their one damn soapbox. Everybody needs to get rid of the soapboxes and everybody be on an even playing field.
I'm talking about our government.
A little give and take, a little bit of balance. But
I'm talking about our government.
I don't want to go to
I
government.
want our government to be proactive for the people. I want them to listen and see what is going on in America and make laws according to the will of the people, because these are the things that need to get taken care of. Let's be a proactive government. That's all I'm saying. Instead of reacting all the time. Reacting, I feel, is all we do. To controversy, to economic struggles, to social structures, to foreign entities.
There are plenty of people out there that say that they have been being proactive on all that. The Greenpeace people, I don't know, whatever. Anybody that's doing anything good in the world, there's somebody out there saying that they're doing too much good and that they're overemphasizing the wrong thing. So proactiveness is great, but it's really about balance. We need more balance in the world. We need more just chill and mind your village.
Yeah, we all have to get back to community.
Community, yes. Oneness.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need balance and oneness. I hear you. I feel you. Got the opposite. I value your opposite perspective than me, but I need you to understand that mine is the opposite of yours. Now that we have complete opposing views, let's just come to the place of respect and find a happy medium. The point is to not be fighting about it. For this guy that we're talking about, the balance is, please, sir, don't go back to the scene of the crime and drive around girls in your car where you once raped and murdered them. Go find a job working at a deli or a bodega or a newsstand or, I don't know,
McDonald's, anywhere. Go get a job.
Store doing stock work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wherever you find a job. And yes, it is difficult out there because it's a difficult economy. And we have teenagers and 50-year-olds that have full-time jobs looking for part-time jobs because the economy is a damn mess.
Absolutely. And with that, we are going to wrap up the show. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Regina, I hope you're having a good vacation. Come back and see us again on Malice Monday. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Adios.